What family secret was finally spilled in your family? My great-grandpa raped his daughter and his sons killed him. That my dad's little sister wasn't really his little sister. It was his sister's baby, raised by his mom. The girl didn't know until she was 21. My aunt didn't lose her teaching job due to budget cuts like she'd always claimed. Turns out she had never had a valid teaching license to begin with, regularly had affairs with the dads, and embezzled PTA money. At age 43 I learned I had a half-sister. My father had an affair and she was conceived after my brother was born, but before I was. She reached out to me, and is a lovely human. We have been in contact ever since, have traveled together, and I have visited her several times. My great-aunt was a nurse supervisor at a mental hospital in the 1920s. She fell in love with a guy who was being evaluated for a murder trial. She helped him escape and they went to Florida. But the police caught up with them. My aunt got off easy, but he got the electric chair. I found all this in a newspaper archives while working on family history. Showed it to my mom and she admitted it was all true. My uncles are infamous criminals who killed multiple people. I thought they bred dogs. My mother was Catholic. After 8 kids she would go visit family when she got pregnant. The Catholic Church would take the baby and rehome it with a barren Catholic family. I met a Greek Catholic brother. He looked like all of us but had a Greek name and Greek parents. My uncle was a cop. My father was a mid-level drug kingpin. He basically ran the marijuana and psychedelics trade in a small city. When I was a kid my uncle died in the line of duty. There was a big funeral and everything. Turns out he wasn't killed in the line of duty. The cops found out that my father was paying him for cop information. When he was accused, my uncle ate a gun in his squad car in a parking lot. I found out 30 years later. We found out after my grandfather died that none of his 7 children with my grandmother were his, and that they all likely had different fathers. I have half-brothers and sisters from the women my father raped. A survivor's daughter told me some, Ancestry and 23andMe did the rest. My mother is kid number 7 of 10. My aunt who was born in 1945 did her DNA and found out that she has a different father from everyone else. She was devastated. There was always rumor that there was an affair but nobody talked about it. She has so many questions but nobody's alive to answer her. We found out grandma's secret ingredient was actually just store-bought marinara sauce. Our family dinners will never be the same. My great-aunt was a prostitute. Her husband, my great-uncle, was a John. I guess this wasn't super shocking to the older generation or her siblings. But to my age group, we just knew her as a sweet old lady and my uncle as a gruff but kind-hearted old man, so that was sort of a strange thought. My mom was having an affair with a schizophrenic dude she met in a bar, got pregnant and just let her husband believe I was his my whole life. When she was sick in the hospital and looped out drugs she started mumbling on about my dad not being my real dad. 23andMe test later and secrets out. One of my adult cousins killed herself last year, and in her suicide note accused her father of molesting her since she was a child. And that's the start of the story. My father's brother killed 4 girls when he was in high school. My father was the one who found out and told the police. We did an ancestry DNA test, and found out my dad has a half-sister. Turns out grandpa had been seeing her mother on the side for probably more than a decade, and also had at least one other long-term affair. My mother did 23andMe and found that she matched with an unknown niece who looked exactly like her older brother. Her brother had an extramarital affair and had a baby without his knowledge. He passed away some 30 years ago when the baby was around 10.